The briefing room at Fort Campbell smelled like stale coffee and disinfectant. I sat in the metal folding chair, watching Major Harrison flip through his clipboard under the harsh fluorescent lights. March 2019 had been quiet so far, too quiet for my liking. Quiet usually meant something was building up. Staff Sergeant Chen. Harrison's voice cut through my thoughts. You're taking Sector 7 Alpha tonight. Standard perimeter sweep, 2200 to 0600. I nodded, already knowing the drill. Sector 7 Alpha was a 3.2-mile stretch of fence line that ran along the Kentucky-Tennessee border. Nothing ever happened there. That's probably why they assigned it to me. Punishment duty, disguised as routine patrol. You'll have Rodriguez on comms, Davis from civilian security, and Williams as backup, Harrison continued. Weather's clear, temperature dropping to freezing. Radio check-ins every 30 minutes. The room felt smaller as the other three filed in. Specialist Rodriguez was young, maybe 22, with nervous energy that made him fidget with his equipment. He'd been at Campbell for 6 months and still jumped at shadows. Civilian Officer Davis was the opposite. 15 years of base security had worn him down to bone and gristle. His gray mustache twitched when he was thinking, which was most of the time. Then there was PFC Williams, first night patrol, green as summer grass and twice as eager. This sector has history, Davis said, his voice gravelly from too many cigarettes. Built in '42, but the real interesting stuff happened during the Cold War. Underground facilities, communication experiments. Most of it's sealed now. Williams leaned forward. What kind of experiments? The kind they don't put in the history books, son. Major Harrison cleared his throat. Equipment check in 10 minutes. Chen, your team, Sector 7 Alpha, departure at 2200 sharp. Any questions? I looked around the room. Rodriguez was already checking his radio for the third time. Davis stared at the wall, like he could see through it. Williams scribbled notes in a pocket notebook. No, sir, I said. But something cold was already crawling up my spine. Maybe it was the way Davis had said history, like he knew things he wasn't supposed to. Or maybe it was how the fluorescent lights seemed dimmer than usual, casting shadows that shouldn't exist. I told myself it was just another night patrol. I was wrong. Gate 7 checkpoint buzzed with the usual late-night activity. MPs checked IDs, trucks rumbled past, and somewhere in the distance, a helicopter's rotors chopped through the Kentucky air. I checked my watch. 10 p.m. exactly. Radio check command. Rodriguez spoke into his handheld unit. Command reads you 5x5 Patrol Team 7. Have a quiet night. If only they knew how wrong that would be. We walked the asphalt service road that ran parallel to the fence line. The March air bit at my face, sharp and clean. Above us, stars scattered across a cloudless sky like broken glass. Our boots crunched on gravel, a steady rhythm that should have been comforting. How long you been doing security, Davis? Williams asked, his breath making small clouds in the cold air. Too long, Davis replied. Started here in '04. Seen everything from drunk soldiers trying to climb the fence to drug dealers thinking they can use the perimeter as a highway. Ever see anything unusual? Davis's mustache twitched. Define unusual. The road curved left, taking us away from the main base lights and into the darker sections of the perimeter. Trees pressed close on both sides now. Bare oak and maple branches creating a tunnel of shadows above our heads. Highway 41A hummed with occasional truck traffic, but even that sound seemed muffled here. First 30-minute check coming up, Rodriguez said, glancing at his watch. I nodded, but my attention was elsewhere. Something felt off about the woods tonight. They were too quiet. No owls, no rustling leaves, no small animals moving through the underbrush. Just silence pressing against us like a physical weight. "Command, this is Patrol Team 7. Rodriguez spoke into his radio at 22:30 hours. Position checkpoint Alpha all secure." Static crackled for a moment. Just atmospheric interference, I told myself, then cleared. "Roger, Patrol 7. Next check at 2300. We kept walking. Williams asked more questions about patrol procedures. Davis shared stories about catching soldiers sneaking back onto base after curfew. Rodriguez adjusted his radio settings, muttering about battery levels. Normal conversation, normal patrol, normal night. But my hands were shaking, and it wasn't from the cold. The first sign something was wrong came at 12:30 a.m. We'd reached the halfway point of our route, with a service road narrowed to a dirt path. Williams was asking Davis about the old Cold War facilities when Rodriguez's radio crackled to life. The sound made us all freeze. The radio was off. I'd watched Rodriguez switch it off 5 minutes earlier to save battery, but now it hissed and popped with static, and underneath that white noise, something that sounded almost like a voice. "What the hell?" Rodriguez grabbed the radio, checking the power switch. Still in the off position, the voice, if it was a voice, spoke through layers of interference. The rhythm sounded like military radio protocol, but the words were lost in the static. Urgent, desperate maybe. The sound made my teeth ache. "Equipment malfunction," I said, but my voice sounded hollow, even to me. Rodriguez pulled the battery pack completely out of the radio. The crackling continued for another 15 seconds, then died. "That's not possible," he whispered, staring at the dead radio in his hands. Williams laughed, but it came out shaky. Probably just interference from those power lines. "Nearest power lines are 2 miles east," Davis said quietly. His mustache was twitching faster now. We stood there in the darkness, listening to nothing. The silence felt heavier than before, like something was holding its breath. I could smell pine sap and old leaves, but underneath that, something metallic. Ozone, maybe, like the air before a thunderstorm. "Let's keep moving," I decided. But at 1:15 a.m., it happened again. This time it was the backup radio, the one Rodriguez kept in his equipment pack, powered down since the start of patrol. It crackled to life with the same voice-like static, but louder now, more insistent. The sound lasted 20 seconds, long enough for us to hear what might have been words. "Alpha, Charlie, 7, requesting immediate," then silence. Williams stepped backward, nearly tripping over a root. "This is messed up, Sergeant. We should head back." "We complete the patrol," I said, but even I could hear the uncertainty in my voice. Rodriguez was staring at both radios like they might explode. I've never seen anything like this. It's like they're picking up transmissions from, I don't know where. Davis hadn't said anything. He was looking at the tree line with eyes that had seen too much. "Davis?" I prompted. He turned to me, and in the green glow of my night vision, his face looked ancient. "This has happened before." "What do you mean, before?" I kept my voice steady, but my heart was hammering against my ribs. Davis pointed ahead to where a concrete marker post emerged from the undergrowth. Faded stenciling read, "Authorized personnel only," in military block letters. "Cold War restricted zone marker," he said. This whole area used to house classified communication equipment. Underground facilities, they said. Decommissioned in the late 70s, buried and sealed. The third radio incident happened exactly as we reached that concrete post. Both radios activated simultaneously. The sound hit us like a physical blow. This time, the voices were clearer. Multiple speakers, overlapping conversations, all using military phonetic alphabet. "Alpha Charlie 7-9, requesting immediate extraction. Base camp, This is Ghost Rider 3. We have equipment failure in progress. Emergency protocols in effect. Repeat, emergency protocols in effect. The voices sounded urgent, professional, and completely impossible. Rodriguez was frantically checking connections, pulling batteries, trying to make it stop. But the radios kept broadcasting voices that shouldn't exist. Williams grabbed my arm. "Sergeant, we need to get out of here. This isn't natural." I shook him off, but he wasn't wrong. The temperature had dropped at least 10 degrees in the last few minutes. My breath came out in thick clouds, and frost was forming on the metal fence posts around us. "Davis," I said, "what exactly happened in the 70s? His mustache twitched. "Official reports say equipment malfunction. Electrical fire in the underground facility. 3 men died." He paused, looking at the concrete marker. "But the guards who worked this sector in the 90s, they reported things. Communication anomalies, voices from dead equipment." "Voices saying what?" "Asking for help." The radios fell silent. The sudden quiet was almost worse than the static. I tried our scheduled 2 a.m. check-in with Garrison Command. Nothing. Just white noise. Our working radio, the one that had functioned perfectly all night, now produced nothing but interference. "We're cut off," Rodriguez said, his voice tight with panic. I looked at my team. Williams was pale, his hands shaking. Rodriguez kept pressing buttons on dead radios. Davis stared at the ground, like he was reading something written in the dirt. "We complete the patrol," I repeated, but the words felt like ash in my mouth. Because now I could hear it too, underneath the wind through bare branches, underneath the distant highway traffic, underneath everything normal and safe. Whispers. Voices calling from somewhere that should. Rodriguez pulled out his phone, hands trembling as he searched for signal. 2 bars. Barely enough, but it would have to do. "There's got to be a rational explanation," he muttered, typing frantically. "Electromagnetic interference, buried cables, something." I wanted to believe him, but the frost was spreading now, creeping across the ground in patterns that looked almost deliberate. My breath hung in the air like smoke, and that metallic taste was getting stronger. "Here," Rodriguez said, squinting at his phone screen. "Project Looking Glass, Fort Campbell, 1962 to 1978. Underground communication facility in Sector 7 Alpha, designed for long-range transmission experiments." Williams leaned over his shoulder. "What kind of experiments?" "Atmospheric ionosphere manipulation for military communications, trying to bounce radio signals off the upper atmosphere for global reach." Rodriguez scrolled down. "Says here they were pushing the boundaries of radio technology, using experimental equipment to..." He stopped reading. His face went white. "What?" I demanded. November 15th, 1977. Electrical fire in the underground facility. 3-man communication team died when equipment overloaded. He looked up at us. Staff Sergeant Morrison, Corporal Jones, and Private Patterson. The radios crackled back to life. "Jones and Patterson trapped. Need immediate evacuation." My skin went cold. That voice, clear now, desperate, was calling the names Rodriguez had just read from a 40-year-old accident report. "Fire in Sector C. Repeat, fire in Sector C. Base camp, this is Morrison, requesting emergency technical support." The voices were getting clearer, more distinct. I could hear the panic in them, the smoke-roughened breathing, the crackle of flames in the background. It sounded real, current, like it was happening right now. But it had happened 42 years ago. "This isn't possible," Williams whispered. He was backing away from us, from the radios, from everything. People they don't stay around after they die. Davis finally spoke. What if they do? What if those experiments did more than just bounce signals off the atmosphere? What if they punched holes in something they shouldn't have? The temperature dropped another 10 degrees. The frost wasn't just spreading now. It was forming patterns. Lines and curves that looked almost like circuit diagrams, like the blueprints for some impossible machine. Equipment failure in progress, requesting immediate assistance. Can anyone hear us? We've been calling for hours. Hours? I looked at my watch. 3:30 a.m. We'd been out here for 5.5 hours, but those voices, they sounded like thoughtful. Survivor? I asked. Annoyed. One man made it out. Corporal Stevens. He said, swallowing hard. Rodriguez swallowed hard. He said the voices were asking for help, that they'd been trapped somewhere between the transmission and reception. Between the transmission and reception. Long pause. Trapped. The radios weren't just broadcasting anymore. They were responding. New patrol team. The voice of Staff Sergeant Morrison came through crystal clear, like he was standing right next to us. We know you're there. We've been waiting for someone who could hear us properly. Williams broke. He turned and ran, crashing through the underbrush toward the main road. I should have gone after him, but I couldn't move. The frost patterns were glowing now, faint blue-white lines spreading across the ground in perfect geometric shapes. Since 1977, Morrison's voice continued, we've been calling for help. Stuck in the transmission, caught between here and there. The experiments didn't just fail, they tore holes in time itself. Rodriguez dropped his phone. The screen cracked against a rock, but the radios kept broadcasting. You have to understand. Another voice, Jones maybe or Patterson, pleaded through the static. We're not dead. Not alive. We're trapped in the moment of transmission, reliving our final seconds over and over again. Davis was nodding like this all made perfect sense. I've heard the stories for 15 years. Guards quitting after one night in this sector. Equipment malfunctions that couldn't be explained. Command always found reasons to transfer people away from 7 Alpha. Because they knew, Morrison's voice said. Command knew what happened down there, what the experiments created. They sealed the facility, but couldn't seal what was already loose. The metallic taste in my mouth was getting stronger. Copper, blood, ozone, fear. The temporal anomaly is strongest at the transmission point, Jones's voice explained. You need to go underground to the old facility, restore power to the emergency systems, complete the evacuation protocol we never finished. That's insane, Rodriguez whispered. But he wasn't backing away. None of us were. The facility entrance is 50 meters northeast of the marker post. Patterson's voice guided us. Hidden under a concrete slab marked with radiation warnings, the stairs go down 30 feet. I looked at Davis. His eyes reflected the strange blue glow of the frost patterns. You've been waiting for this, I realized. All those years of security duty. You knew something was down there. He nodded slowly. Felt it. Like a toothache that never goes away. Something wrong with this place. Something that needed fixing. Rodriguez picked up his broken phone, staring at the cracked screen. The scientific part of me says this is impossible, but the equipment doesn't lie. These voices, they're real. Will you help us? Morrison asked through the radio static. We can guide you through the restoration procedure, but you have to choose now. Dawn's coming, and the anomaly is weaker during daylight hours. I looked at my team, Rodriguez wide-eyed but determined. Davis, finally at peace with whatever he'd been sensing all these years. Williams was long gone. Smart man. But the voices in the radio were getting fainter, more desperate. "Please," Patterson whispered through 42 years of static. "We just want to go home." At 0500 hours, every piece of electronic equipment we carried activated simultaneously. The sound was deafening. Radios, flashlights, night vision devices, even Rodriguez's broken phone. Everything buzzed and crackled with electrical life. The blue glow of the frost patterns intensified until I could see them clearly without night vision, spreading across the ground like a vast circuit board powered by something beyond human understanding. "New patrol team." Morrison's voice came through clear as if he was standing next to me. "You're running out of time. The anomaly peaks just before sunrise, then weakens until the next night cycle." We found the concrete slab exactly where Patterson said it would be. Radiation warning symbols were still visible despite 4 decades of weather. And when Rodriguez pried it open with his tactical knife, stale air rushed out carrying the smell of old electronics and something else. Something burned. 30 feet down, Jones's voice guided us as we descended rusted metal stairs into absolute darkness. Emergency lighting should activate when you reach the main facility. Our flashlights carved weak beams through air so cold it hurt to breathe. The walls were concrete, lined with cables and conduits that disappeared into shadow. Everything was covered in frost now, not just the ground above. The main facility was larger than I'd expected. Banks of 1970s-era equipment lined the walls, computers the size of refrigerators, radio transceivers with dozens of dials and switches, monitoring screens dark for 42 years. But it wasn't empty. Figures moved between the equipment banks. Translucent, flickering like bad television reception, but unmistakably human. 3 men in 1970s military uniforms, their faces twisted with panic and confusion. Staff Sergeant Morrison looked exactly like his service photo would have, if service photos could show someone in the middle of burning to death. "You can see us," he said, and his voice came from the radios and from his mouth at the same time, creating an echo that made my bones ache. "We've been trying to complete the evacuation procedure for 42 years, Patterson added, gesturing at a control panel that sparked and smoked, despite having no power source. "Every night, we relive the same moments. The fire starts, the equipment overloads, we call for help that never comes." Rodriguez moved to the main power console, hands shaking as he examined switches and breakers. "The temporal loop," he said, his scientific training taking over. "You're trapped in the transmission cycle. The experiments created a feedback loop that catches consciousness at the moment of death. Can you break it?" Jones asked, hope and desperation mixing in his voice. Davis was already working alongside Rodriguez, his 15 years of facility knowledge proving useful. "Main power breaker here," he said. "Emergency systems here. Communication array here."
"But here's what you need to understand," Morrison said, his flickering form moving closer.
"Breaking our loop means creating a new transmission at the exact moment of the original accident, 5:27 a.m., November 15, 1977. I checked my watch. 5:20 a.m. 7 minutes. "The equipment is still functional," Patterson explained. "The experimental setup that killed us is the same setup that can free us. But someone has to operate it manually." "What's the risk?" I asked, though I already knew I didn't want to hear the answer. Morrison's burned face looked directly at me. "The person who operates the equipment experiences the full temporal feedback. They'll see what we saw, feel what we felt. Most don't survive the psychological trauma. And if we don't do it, we stay trapped forever," Jones whispered. "And you've been exposed to the anomaly for too long. You'll start experiencing temporal echoes, moments from our deaths, fragments of our memories. Eventually, you'll be trapped with us." Rodriguez was already throwing switches, bringing ancient equipment to life. Banks of lights flickered on, casting everything in harsh white light that made the ghost figures even more visible. "I can do it," he said. "I understand the technical aspects." "No," Davis stepped forward. "I've been feeling this place for 15 years. It should be me." "It has to be me," I realized, looking at both of them. "I'm the senior NCO, my responsibility." 5:25 a.m. Morrison nodded at me with something that might have been respect. "The transmission begins when you activate the main array. You'll experience our memories, our final moments. But you have to stay conscious long enough to broadcast the evacuation order." "What evacuation order?" Patterson handed me a piece of paper that flickered in and out of existence. "Military protocol," typed on 1970s letterhead. "Emergency evacuation complete. All personnel clear of facility." "Simple words," Jones said, "but they have to be transmitted at exactly 5:27 a.m. to complete the loop and set us free." 5:26 a.m. I sat down at the communications console. The equipment hummed with power that felt alive, electric, dangerous. My hands found the transmission controls, muscle memory from years of radio training guiding me. "Thank you," Morrison said. I activated the array.
The world exploded into fire and electricity and screaming.
I was Morrison, dying in smoke and flames. I was Jones, trapped under burning equipment. I was Patterson, calling for help that would never come. 42 years of death compressed into a single moment of absolute terror. But underneath the pain, I heard my own voice broadcasting the evacuation order. "Emergency evacuation complete. All personnel clear of facility." The transmission ended at exactly 5:27 a.m. The ghost figure smiled, actually smiled, and faded away like morning mist. Dawn light streamed through the facility entrance as Rodriguez and Davis helped me up the stairs. I don't remember climbing. I don't remember much of anything until the investigation team arrived. Major Harrison stood over me as medics checked my vitals. "Equipment malfunction, Sergeant?" I looked at Rodriguez and Davis. They nodded slightly. "Yes, sir," I said. Radio interference led us to seek shelter in an abandoned facility. We restored emergency power and waited for dawn. No mention of voices. No mention of temporal anomalies. No mention of 3 dead soldiers finally going home. Rodriguez requested transfer to the Signal Corps 3 days later. "Want to study electromagnetic phenomena," he said, but his eyes had the look of someone who'd seen too much truth. Davis retired early, with full benefits. "Health concerns," his paperwork read, though he seemed more at peace than he had in years. Williams never spoke to any of us again. 3 months later, new patrol teams reported brief radio anomalies in Sector 7 Alpha, but nothing like what we'd experienced. Whatever we'd done had worked, mostly. I received a commendation for innovative problem-solving during equipment crisis. The medal sits in my desk drawer, next to patrol reports that tell only half the story. But I keep the radio from that night. Sometimes, late at night, it picks up faint transmissions. Different voices, different years, different ghosts. The first new transmission came in June. I was alone in my quarters, cleaning equipment, when the old radio crackled to life. A voice speaking through static, using outdated military terminology from the Korean War era.
"Able Company to base, requesting immediate support. We're pinned down at coordinates. Grid reference."
The voice faded into white noise. I researched the unit designation. Able Company, 187th Infantry Regiment, killed in action, November 1950, during a night patrol along the 38th parallel. Fort Campbell has a long history. 77 years of military operations, training accidents, combat casualties whose bodies came home but whose voices might still be calling for help. The Korean War ghost was just the beginning.
Over the following months, Vietnam-era pilots reporting engine failure, Gulf War soldiers requesting medical evacuation, voices from every conflict spanning decades, all of them trapped in their final transmissions, all of them asking for help. I could ignore them, file reports about equipment malfunctions, request different duty assignments, pretend I never heard anything unusual in Sector 7 Alpha, but late at night, when the base is quiet and the radio whispers with voices that shouldn't exist, I remember Morrison's words, "We just want to go home." Tonight, I am going back to Sector 7 Alpha. Someone has to listen.